Action. I hope that's on the video.
So,
Andy.
Callum, audience, welcome back
Welcome back, guys.
to the Value Proposition Podcast,
Yeah.
episode 7. And that marks a milestone, actually.
It does.
Do you know why?
Because most podcasts end.
Do you know the number?
8.
No.
The percent. Oh, the percent. I'm going to say 80%.
90% of
Wow.
podcasts don't make it past
Right.
episode
7.
7.
All right.
So congratulations, man.
Well, yeah, this is huge for us. So thank you to all the viewers for keeping this podcast going. The revenue is increasing weekly.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to be able to retire soon.
We're on the home stretch.
Yeah. So, Callum, how's life been
It's been really, really great.
over the past week?
Well, let me tell you about my last week.
Yeah. Tell me.
So I went down to Spain last minute. And I got back about an hour and a half ago.
I just picked you up at the airport.
Yeah. Well, the viewers don't know that,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So thank you for picking me up, by the way. And also, fuck you, Glasgow Airport. £1 a minute. And
Well, no,
stay.
that's not true. That's not true.
That's what you told me.
No, listen. You didn't.
Okay,
You obviously
all right.
didn't read the sign.
No, of course I didn't read it.
I sent you a picture of the sign.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
it's £5.50
Okay.
for 15 minutes.
Sure.
But any minute you're over the 15 minutes,
It's an
you get
extra
charged at £1. So it was £15.50.
Okay. It was. Sorry.
ABI.
That's an ABI expense. But yeah, so I was in Spain.
Yeah.
I was playing in a golf tournament. Had
did
a
it go?
last minute invitation. Played well.
Good.
Had some
We've
great...
actually not even talked about this. So how did it go?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. This is fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first day I played okay. My scoring was definitely a little bit better.
Better on the first day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second day I hit the ball better, but I didn't score as well.
And due to what?
I was working on some stuff. I had some kind of like, I'll call them lessons, but they were really just like, hey, you should try doing this instead of that. I don't want to get into the technicalities because I know who I'm speaking to.
Yeah,
But basically what I was doing was, sort of like inefficient really. And I could get a lot more out of my golf game.
I could have told you that. Yeah.
Figured.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I could've
dude.
told you.
It's fucking awesome. So the second day, but the weather was amazing in Spain. I love Spain.
Spain's great.
It's one of my favorite places to go. Definitely for golf too.
Yeah. I've never golfed in Spain.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's similar to Florida, but
I've never golfed in Florida.
all right, next thing then.
So, apart from that, what else you been up to?
Apart from that, we've been really working heavily on our tokenization stuff.
Yeah.
So that's been a big aspect for us for the last
Tokenization of the real estate.
real estate specifically. Yeah. Sorry.
Just to clarify.
Just
for
to
the
clarify.
viewers. I mean, I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. So tokenization of real estate, we're underway with that, and seems like there's a massive market for it long term. There's a big finance week in the world in December, which is going to sort of be just sort of like a benchmark for us as to where we're at. What's the demand? What do people say?
You'll be able to get some great feedback from
100%.
some very important people.
Oh yeah.
There.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be an interesting point for you guys to see exactly how this all goes down.
Exactly.
And it's kind of the first time that you're going to get to test that out.
Yeah. Our first home is actually going to be available.
So let's actually talk about that first.
Okay,
So
yeah.
for the audience,
Sure.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but explain to the audience a bit about tokenization of real estate, how it works, what happens, and really for a dummy, what is it?
Sure. So I'll use a term to make it really, like, the simplest term would be fractional ownership.
Yeah.
Now, it's not the same thing as fractional ownership, obviously, but what you're doing is you're splitting a home or an asset, really anything, into shares.
Yeah.
Now, that could be, 10 shares, it could be 100 shares. Let's just say 10, and the home is worth $100. So there are 10 tokens available. And anyone can buy them. But what will happen is month one, if it's a revenue income home,
Yeah.
or short-term rental rather, you'll start to get sort of dividend payments every single month. So everyone can kind of chip in to this project,
Yeah.
and everyone gets the benefits of that project.
Yeah.
That's a very simple way of saying it. There's obviously like we've done a lot of work on sort of the mind map of what that journey looks like as well.
Because it's such a new thing, right? So you need to almost break it down step by step by step for the individuals that are looking to.
But the costs, it's really all about saving costs.
Yeah.
If you're an investor looking for a home or something to put your money into.
100%. So one of the things I'm going through just now with one of my properties is two of my properties just recently tenants moved out and I had to replace tenants. Now it's a pain in the backside because you then need to look for tenants. Or then you think, oh, do I want to sell the property or do I want to keep it?
Yeah.
I decided to put a tenant in it. But if I did go down the selling route, you have to pay for an estate agent to market and sell it. You need to pay closing costs, solicitor fees.
Yeah. What percent over here would you say that kind of adds up to?
So the flat I was thinking about selling.
Value?
No,
not quite.
Not so much. The flat.
Okay.
Well, potentially the flat I was looking to sell is probably worth 115 grand.
Okay.
And I probably would have been about 5 grand all in.
Okay.
5 or 6 grand all in.
Yeah.
But if I was looking to invest again into real estate and saw the tokenization aspect of real estate, it then means that you can say I was going to invest 50 grand into a deposit on a house in Scotland and invest in it for a buy to let and put a tenant in it. You have to fork out 25% of the value of the property for your deposit for a start. You're then 6% on top of that in tax, which by the way goes to nothing. You're chucking that down the drain essentially. You then don't get access to the property for maybe 3 months.
Nice.
Then you need to find a tenant that could cost you £500, £600, £700 with a letting agent. You then have to manage that process or pay somebody else to do that process.
Okay.
So you've got all these things that add up
quickly.
I mean, that's just for one property. Say you've got a few, or it gets harder.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas that, say 50,000, that was going to be the 25% on the investment property. If I wanted to then invest that £50,000 into the tokenization of real estate, I just invest that £50,000.
It's instantaneous.
There's no tax that's paid. There's no legal fees. There's no waiting on ownership. No waiting on the deal concluding. There's no finding the tenants. You don't have to manage any of that process. And if you ever decide that you wanted to sell that stake, as in standard property, if you want to sell the property, rather than go through all the hassle of the sale process, you just have to hit a button, sell it on the blockchain.
One of the things that we've created through this platform that we're using is the secondary market where you can then buy and sell in between other investors.
I mean, even if you think about like from a mortgage standpoint, if I was today to get go and buy a buy to let and lock into a 5-year fixed rate on a mortgage, you want to sell it after 2 years, you then have to pay
God knows what.
Could be a 4% fee to sell the property, which could be 5-6 grand.
Yeah.
On top of all the other closing costs that you've got when you're selling a property. So if that, now I don't know the answer to this question either, so it's going to be interesting for me. So say I do invest £50,000 in to tokenization, and then in 7 or 8 years' time, I decide I want to sell it. Obviously, I've had the income. I've had the dividends or whatever you would want to call it over the 7 years or however long I've held the asset. Is there any capital appreciation?
Yeah, the tokens themselves can increase in value.
Okay.
Which is more of a supply and demand thing, and kind of also ties into the value of the real estate itself.
Of course. So if the real estate has gone up in value, the token will.
It will reflect that.
And if there's more people that are looking to buy it, again, supply and demand. It's like.
I mean, if you have a hot property down in Miami, and you snagged it for, I've been looking. Part of my role is to find all of the homes and what product is available that is attractive for investors. And so there's a bunch of stuff in Miami, obviously, and there are homes, condos, apartments. They're about $2 million, sort of North Miami. And in a place called Edgewater. I would reckon that within the next 5 to 7 years, they'll double.
Wow.
Because Miami all is in Brickell.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're kind of expanding west and north up in that area. Sort of like Wynwood area is exploding. And all of those home property prices. What the fuck is so funny? Fuck you.
You know what? I was just thinking we forgot to mention Movember.
Yeah. I realized that we look a little different to our audience right now.
And I saw you. I was thinking about it in my head, and I just looked at you and started laughing. So sorry, that was a bit off topic, but we should maybe talk about that.
Yeah. Basically, what to finish off with our first original point was that the point is that we find these unique, specialized locations that have increased value long term, so that you can then increase the value of the token and also possibly the
so you get the
revenue,
the returns monthly in dividends or whatever you
you can receive them
and then on top of that you also get there's literally no downside investing in tokenization rather than standard property, because you still get the capital appreciation and you still get the monthly revenue. Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward, to be honest.
And it's giving you kind of the best of both worlds in terms of real estate and crypto. It's kind of merging the two.
100%. And one of the things that really resonated with me last week before I went to Spain, I was thinking about what would this mean for people like our age and how this could be really influential. So obviously, in South Florida in particular, there's a massive amount of rental property. That's
standard rental property.
Yeah, just like they want us to rent because home prices are obviously very unaffordable for younger people. This gives people an opportunity to make money and then make an investment that could allow them to purchase a home.
Yeah.
So your sort of down payment, let's say you had $25,000, put that into something like this, 5 to 10 years. Keep it there. Maybe you're renting, you're working hard, whatever. Not 5 to 10 years, that's a shitty example. Let's say 2 to 3.
Yeah.
But you're making your money back every single month. And we're going to try and obviously make sure the properties are 8 to 12% ROI, all that good stuff. Like there's a lot of, analytical shit that criteria I love. That need to be met. But we want people to make smart investments because we all also make the investments ourselves. So basically I think that for the younger person, this is something that they'll connect with. It will be very easy for people to grasp.
It makes the process easier.
So much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier. Mustaches.
Mustaches. I just as you were talking there, I thought, shit, we've not mentioned the fact that we both look like fucking idiots right now.
Well, yeah. And so you picked me up. We went to my apartment and I immediately had to get rid of everything else.
So Callum's literally fresh off the...
I'm fresh off the fucking
fresh off the press.
I feel very insecure.
I shaved mine.
Just wanted everyone to know that.
Not last night, the night before. Yeah. I mean, I shaved at the start. We both shaved at the start of November. And then we've just shaved again. Yeah. So
I'm looking for like a few days of growth. Personally, I feel like I feel like I look like a giant baby with a mustache.
It's strange because when you shaved your beard, the razor must have slipped and you shaved all the hair off on your arms as well. I mean, can you tell our audience about what all that's about?
All right. So what happened was I don't want to get overly personal.
I mean, before we left your house, you lubed your arms up.
It's called lotioning, moisturizing.
Is that what they call it in America?
Yeah. So, I was just kind of bored last week. I think it was last week. Yeah. And I just was like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And I did it, and I regret it.
No, I mean, it looks okay.
Are you hitting on me?
It looks okay.
Really?
For a lady.
Anyways,
Movember. So
Movember. Mental health. We were close, by the way. We thought it was just testicles, but it was testicles and
men's mental health.
They kind of merged together.
Yeah. So I think it's important. I think that it's something that's not talked about enough.
Agreed.
And
especially over here, you guys suck at that. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
That's my
no,
opinion.
no, I totally agree. I don't think that there's a stigma around men talking. And to be fair, over the last like 2 or 3 years, or maybe 2 years, things have improved a lot in terms of
I think it's an access thing over here.
potentially. Yeah, well,
Possibly.
even if you think about it in this way, in the States, a lot of people go to therapy.
Oh yeah,
You know, probably half the population go to
I've
therapy,
gone
maybe
a
even
million
more.
times.
So it's not really a thing in the UK.
Like when you go to like college, university, there's a therapist, and you just show up.
Yes.
Doesn't cost you anything.
So we don't have that in the
Right.
UK.
Right.
In Scotland, anyway.
Yeah.
I've never seen a therapist. I quite like to go and see a therapist, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
You need to.
No, I just think that it's good to talk to somebody about
It's a
what
third
you're going
party,
through, yeah.
non-judgmental.
100%, and that's their job, and
Yeah.
they've heard it all, they've seen it all.
Yeah.
So the chances are what you're going to tell them is
I will tell you. So you've never been.
no. I've never
Okay.
been to therapy.
So
no.
the first time you go you're gonna feel so good afterwards. You're gonna feel like the king of the world.
Like the way that you felt after you shaved your arms.
Yeah. Anyways,
Oh yeah.
yes, you're gonna feel really, really good. I can guarantee it.
No, I think I'm gonna look into it.
Especially if you have any stresses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we all have stresses.
Yeah, of
I've got
course.
tons of stresses. But, you know, once you get out of there, you're like, oh, shit. Like, you know, weight's a little bit off the shoulders. It's
Mhm.
nice. It's nice. But,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I think that when you're busy and you've got shit that you want to do and targets that you want to hit and
Yeah.
whatever, you often like push your
always, yeah.
kind of mental
So easy
health.
to do.
I'll be honest with you, I've been really lucky. Like I've never really suffered with any depression or
Yeah,
anxiety or anything like that.
sure.
But I think that it's good to go to these types of things because it can prevent any of it happening
Well,
in the
absolutely. And it'll give you, I'm going to use the term tools, even though, you know, it just gives you something else to, you know, how to think about your own thoughts and feelings and
Yeah.
how are you going to overcome them or deal with them.
future.
You know, journaling, you journal.
Yeah, journal. Yeah.
So, you know, that is
I
technically
suppose it's
a form of therapy.
Yeah.
I suppose. I mean, we have to get someone to tell us if that's true or not, but because neither of us
That's
are qualified. But,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, so you're obviously able to handle something on your own, which is good.
Yeah.
It's good. I can't stop looking at your mustache, man. It's so fucking in my face. It's good.
It's not great.
No.
But yeah, I mean,
So yeah. I mean, in college, it was a big thing for me. I was like on it in college.
yeah.
I even started like an Instagram. I think I have, well, you know how good I am with social media. I think I have 2 posts.
Yeah, I'm not
But
surprised.
I stole now I don't know if this is a thing. You can fact check me on this. But like when you create a username,
Yeah.
like no one else can take that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was very creative of me. It was mental health, but the men part was capitalized. Yeah, it was pretty smart, huh?
On Instagram.
Yeah. I should show you that.
Yeah.
And then through that, I was able to, that's where I got my first start ever in a podcast. I met a guy in Indiana at a conference.
Okay.
It was for like fraternities and sororities. And I met a guy and he was like, look, I just introduced myself, had a 10-minute conversation with him. He was like, oh, I told him what I was doing
Yeah.
about how to approach mental health. Because
I've got a sore finger and I just banged it.
is it from the hockey game?
Yeah, I got slashed.
No, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy, and his name was Casey, lovely guy. And he brought me onto his podcast and we spoke about it. Because it's one of those things, it's kind of interesting to talk about it when you're also in that demographic.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty serious problem. It's often overlooked, to
100%,
be
yeah.
honest. Like no one, I don't know how often you ever hear of anybody saying, wow, we should really cut down on, men's suicide. That never really happens.
I think more so now.
Like
than,
people
than
know
ever.
about it, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't see a lot of, and maybe I don't try hard
So
enough to find
what did you talk about on the podcast?
it. What I was trying to accomplish was how to, in the sort of like, because back then there was what was it like?
How long ago was this?
Toxic masculinity was there was like a Gillette commercial and all this bullshit
Yeah.
stuff.
How long ago was this?
Oh God. 6 years ago.
Okay.
It was quite a while. I'll send you the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny. It's funny. It's good.
No doubt.
'Cause it's funny because like I sound way different then than I do now.
In what sense?
I just sound younger. I
Oh.
just sound like a child.
Well, 6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? But what I was trying to do is try to broach the topic of men's mental health in the sort of fraternal environment
Yeah.
in American culture.
Because I
specifically.
suppose in American culture, I mean, I've never gone to like any of these fraternities or anything
Yeah.
like that, so I don't really know firsthand. But when you look at it on movies and things,
Well,
is that a good representation?
I had a very
or-
recent conversation with somebody about that.
I think it was me.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about it.
Yeah, well, then
think
I've
it was-
had 2 recent conversations about this because someone asked me what's like a fraternity like, and I was like, it's like, is it like the movies? Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Is it?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it can be. You know, think of like those big parties that you would see in a movie, like it was Bad Neighbors with like Zac Efron and shit.
Yeah.
Like it can be really similar to that. You know.
And would they live next door to like a standard
I mean,
house?
sometimes it depends on like the college setting and where it's located. Most places will have dedicated rows, they call them, and they'll just have all the frats in one street.
I've got a good question for you.
All right.
You went to university
Yeah.
for a bit. What was your biggest key takeaway
Oh wow.
in the whole time you were at college or university?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm kind of cynical when it comes to that. 'Cause I think it's a joke.
Okay. So
Right. So my example would be, the business teacher that tells you how to structure and start a business, and this is the key steps to be successful. But he's teaching me the class.
how many businesses have you started?
It's like, why are you here?
Yeah.
if
and
you're qualified to teach it,
And-
you
and
should
I-
also be
I-
practicing it.
I totally agree. So I went to university for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I studied business management. Funny story, actually. So eventually I decided I want to go into business. That's what I want to do with my life. I didn't know exactly what at that point. I was like 18, 19. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know that I want to do something in the realm of business. So
Yeah.
business management was the obvious degree choice, of course. And I'm going through these classes and I'm sitting in these lectures like, this is torture. Then it just clicks in my head. I'm like, if I want to have my own business, I don't need a fucking degree.
No.
Like,
It's
I don't need to. I don't
important.
need to hire myself.
No.
So, the way that I saw it
Yeah.
is, I would much rather go and work and get experience working in businesses,
Yeah.
and then have real world experience to take into business, rather than going to university for 4 years, getting a degree in business, and then having to go and get a job to get experience to
Yeah.
get another job.
100%.
So, yeah,
I like the way you thought about that. That was smart. I like that. It was
Well,
quick
yeah.
too. You're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Well, 2 weeks. It took me two weeks. So when I realised that it wasn't really for me, now bear in mind, I was coming from. Well, I took a kind of year out and I played pro hockey, as
Yeah.
you know. But before that, I was at school in Canada, and it was a private school, so
Yeah.
there was like between 4 and 10 people per class.
Yeah.
So one teacher and between 4 and 10 people in the class. So I'm going from that, learning like that kind of learning style, to there was like 150 people in some of the lectures I was in.
Yeah.
Just like, this just isn't for me.
No.
I didn't like the environment.
No.
And my favourite class was economics, right?
Yeah.
And I then found out, like, after a week and a half, that I was in the wrong lecture. I shouldn't have even been in that lecture, and that was my favourite. So I then decided, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
So what would your advice be to somebody that's
Oh boy.
17, 18, going away to leave high school, thinking about college? Do they go to college? Do they not? What's your advice?
Well, I took a gap year out of high school. So I graduated high school, took a full year off, but
Yeah.
I was wanting to become a golfer at some point, and I wasn't smart enough to get into college really. I mean,
I can see that.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't try at all in high school.
Okay.
I didn't care.
And why?
'cause
Why?
it was sports. It was all about
You just
playing golf and soccer.
Soccer.
Soccer, man. That was my life, and
Yeah.
I didn't want anything else other than that.
Yeah.
So
you just kind of disregard
my school was just a vessel for me to play sports.
Okay.
Because my school was very good at sports.
Yeah.
So it just gave me that ability and that platform to do what I was good at, which wasn't really school. But also the things I was interested about were never taught.
Yeah.
So like when I went to college, like my second year of college, which was my last year, I studied philosophy. My first year was business and all that. And I'm like, this is a fucking joke. Let me do something else. So then I was like, oh, well, philosophy.
Yeah.
Obviously. Because that's what everyone thinks about.
19-year-old kid thinks.
And so I could just put myself into that.
Yeah.
But I think that was probably the most important education I've ever had.
Philosophy.
Yeah.
Wow. And because of what?
It made me think a lot more naturally, but
kind of opened your eyes to other.
It made me more aware to other ideas on how to structure maybe my life or how to handle myself as an individual.
Yeah.
How to, like, I'm very emotionally intact with myself. So
yeah.
obviously, clearly, but it gave me a different way of thinking about all that. So I enjoyed that. And these are also very smart people. I love them. I love them all. There's not one philosopher except for Karl Marx that I like. Don't like, sorry.
Yeah, that university. Did you well?
You ever read the Communist Manifesto?
Sorry?
Have you ever read the Communist Manifesto?
No.
Don't.
No.
Just wondering. I don't know.
So what would your advice be to somebody who's thinking about?
Oh, right, that was the question.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to somebody who's in their last year at high school? They kind of maybe want to get into business. They're not too sure what business they want to go into. They're thinking about university or college. They're thinking about maybe just going to try and get a job. What's your advice?
Well, I would probably inform anybody to really think about it and consider it. In America, it usually comes at a pretty significant cost as well.
Of course, it's different in Scotland. It's free,
right? So it's free
if you're Scottish.
And so you could wing it, but you have to have a general idea as to what you really enjoy.
Yeah.
But you also aren't going to know that when you're 17. It's not possible. That's one thing I don't like about college is you're 18 years old, you show up to your first year, and you're like, well, what do I do? Now, they give you the sort of general education piece. We call it just gen eds in America. I don't know if they do that here.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm sure they do, but they'll have a different term for
different
it.
Name, yeah.
And you're kind of exposed to all of the things, but nothing in particular. It's not in depth at all. And then it's up to you to decide. Like when I was doing philosophy, I was also doing psychology, which was very, those kind of worked together really well. So I enjoyed that. And if I went to college again, I would do that again.
Okay.
But my advice would be I would try and find somebody who's already in college and be like, what do you like about this?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, call me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
just like, I'll talk to you, because not that college needs to be thought about in a cynical way, but if you're going to go into business, you don't need to go to college.
Yeah.
You have AI and all that shit. You do not need to go to college. I mean, you can ask ChatGPT, what do I do for the next 3 years?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think that it depends what career you want to go into. I mean, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be...
You kind of have no choice.
A scientist, if you want to go into medicine, you need to go to college.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. So if you want to go into any of those fields, college is the way that you should
probably do that.
The way that you should go, or university in Scotland.
Yeah.
I think that one of the issues with any other degree, apart from medicine or if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, is that there's some stupid fact, something like, I'm going to probably butcher this, like
I love
yeah, we should make a compilation of all the facts that we've butchered since we started this podcast.
Agreed.
I don't even think we'd be able to clip it, it'd be too long. No. But something stupid like 75% of people that go to university don't even get a job in the field that they studied. So, or don't end up in the career that they studied to be in, which is mad. I mean, some people go to university for like 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And you then get out of university and you don't even get a job in the field that you've just educated yourself in
Yeah.
for the past 8 years. One of the other big things is that when you come out of university, a lot of the jobs that you're trying to get, everyone else who's just been to university is trying to get those jobs.
Of course.
On top of that, a lot of the companies that are hiring are looking for experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
like
you go like
you've been
we
at
could pull
university
up any
for-
job right now. Just send your application and it'll say 5 years experience.
Yeah.
Entry level. And you go, how the fuck am I supposed to have 5 years experience
Exactly.
with my first job?
No, 100%, and that is one of the big issues
Yeah.
with university or college. And I mean, in Scotland, it's not so bad because university is free, and that was my whole. That was kind of the reason that I went, because I'm
Just
like,
because it was there.
it's not costing me
available.
anything.
Yeah.
It's in my hometown. It's not costing me anything. I may as well try it.
Okay.
I didn't really know what I
Yeah.
wanted to do, so I'm like, I'll do this just now.
Sure.
But I quickly realized, like, shit, this isn't for me.
So would you say like your final point would be, if you're going to go into business or you think you have a business mind, don't go. Unless you maybe want to go for like, I mean, I
It
guess if
depends
you're going
what
for like
aspect of
economics.
business. It depends what
Yeah, I
aspect
guess
of
you're right.
business.
Yeah.
Like,
So there's
if you
really
want to go
no-
into,
yeah.
like, if you want to be a marketer, maybe a degree's a good idea, because the back end of marketing can be quite complicated.
Yeah.
If you want to get, for example, if you wanted to get a marketing job with likes of Adidas,
Yeah.
the chances are you're going to need a
You're
degree
going to need a degree.
in marketing.
Yeah.
So it again, it depends. But what I would say to people who are in that position is really think about what you want to do
Yeah.
before you waste, especially in America, because you could be.
Yeah.
How much is it? How much is it anyway to go to college?
I mean, where I went?
Well, just anywhere.
Okay, just anywhere. So, I mean, I don't know what the average would be. I would have
Yeah.
no fucking clue. And it probably has gone up since then.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're paying out of pocket and with no sort of
Student loan.
No, not the fucking student loan. The fucking yeah, I've got fucking brain fog up the ass.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the fucking word, man? You know, like, all right, can we edit this part out? I fucking hate that you won't let me do that.
I don't edit this now.
Okay. So basically, you're probably like, if you go to an Ivy League school, you're paying $90,000
A year.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So, and what tends to happen? Do parents pay for that, or does the university student take that on in college debt? I mean, because then you could be getting out, if you're going to university for 4 years minimum anyway, you could be in $400,000 worth of debt when you come out.
Yeah.
Unemployed. In $400,000 worth of debt.
Yeah.
And you if we go by the stats, you're not even going to get a job in the degree you've just studied.
So you're fucked.
I mean, it's mad.
There was a school that I almost went to. It's called Drexel University. I wanted to transfer there after my first year of college. And I got in, and they sent me my, oh, you've been accepted, blah, blah, blah. And then the next letter was, oh, this is how much your tuition is. It was $86,000 for the year, not including where I was supposed to live. And so
Where was it?
I showed my parents, and they're like, no.
Think of your golf clubs.
That was in, I think it's Philadelphia. Why?
It's
a great school,
So
great business school.
Why
Great
did you
business
want to
school.
go to that school for the business aspect?
Yeah, business and golf. Yeah, because that's why I went to college. It was all
I mean, the
for
thing
golf.
is, like,
I didn't go for education.
Yeah, if you look at, like, if you want to be the CEO of some company, nowadays you probably need a degree. Have you not been in that kind of role?
You know what? We should look at what there was. I think Forbes do it, where they tell you what degree all the CEOs got. None of them are business related.
Really?
No.
Wow.
There's actually a lot of philosophy on there.
That was your thought process.
That was my thought process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was interesting.
That was interesting. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was good.
I mean, that's something I've actually wanted to talk about for a while,
Yeah.
but I've never really had the.
Because it's a weird thing. Like, when you're 17, it's hard to know, and you're trying to think, where do I want to be in, let's say, 5 years?
Yeah.
Once I get out of college or university, what do I do next? It's a tough thing to figure out. And also,
100%.
no one knows what the world's going to be like in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, imagine where AI could be. You know, you might eye in a career and whatever, and then AI will replace it, and you go, what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah, and I think we actually talked about this in the very first episode that we ever did. That when people are picking what career they want to go into, they're really going to have to be considerate on will AI replace my job? Like factory workers, the chances are AI,
It's
robots
unlikely.
will take over
Yeah.
factory jobs.
I
agree.
I agree.
And a lot of things, it's going to be the case with a lot of jobs.
Of course. But, you know, that's the way that things are moving. I mean, you know, it wasn't that long ago that Elon had that party with the robots and they were making cocktails and serving beers.
Really?
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
Oh, my God, yeah. He released those robots. Didn't release them, but he unveiled them. He fucking released the fucking army of them. No, they were fucking pouring cocktails and having conversations.
Wow.
You know, I mean, the response time is immediate. It's genuinely like talking to a regular person. It's horrifying.
It's unbelievable what these things can do. It really
I
is.
mean, it's a little scary.
If you think
That's a little scary because it hits too close to home.
If you think about how what that progression is going to look like over the next 10 years, we've seen nothing just now.
No.
Nothing.
No.
In comparison to what the world of AI is going to look like in 10 or 15 years' time.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be pretty mad.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. Anyway, you touched on Elon Musk there.
Yeah.
See his net worth jumped up again 17 billion when Donald Trump got elected.
He did get elected.
So
I spoke to quite a few people back home about it.
So what's the American, as an American, what is your perspective on, let me get your thoughts on first, leading up to the election. What was your thoughts? How were you feeling?
Okay.
Election day, when you started to find out what the story was. How did you feel? What was your thoughts?
So, leading up to the election, I was a little concerned that Kamala was going to win.
So you're obviously a Trump guy.
It's good for business. And there's also a lot of reasons that I have, and you know, we could go into some of those details, but some of that is actually confidential information that I've been exposed to about some of the things that he's going to, you know, try to push for. We can get into that, but I was a little bit nervous that she was probably going to win, mainly because there was like a moment for, I want to say it was probably like a 3-week period where she made a really strong push, and I was like, oh man, you know, this might not be so good. And the way I looked at this election was, the Democrats have been in office for 12 of the last 16 years.
Yes.
And they pinned a lot of issues onto Donald Trump for 4 years of effort and service. Yeah. Which is completely unfair because they've done basically nothing. And then during all of the sort of campaigning, they bring in, you know, Bill Clinton, and they have Bill Gates fucking unleashing loads of money into the Democratic Party. Who else is in that involvement? Hillary.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Liz Cheney gets, you know, she's endorsing Kamala, who
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, fucking Jennifer Lopez. Like the celebrity thing, you know why? It's because of Diddy. That's my honest opinion. I think they were pushing because of this Epstein and all these weird fucking things that we hear about now, the Diddy and the Epstein shit. Honestly, it seems like they were nervous, and you could call that a conspiracy, but like, why else? How is what is currently happening in America helping them? I mean, obviously they have, you know, incredible amounts of money, so it doesn't matter, but it does matter. So there has to be an ulterior reason as to why you think that person should be there.
I mean, I think that artists, singers,
I don't give a fuck what Taylor Swift says. I just think
that Taylor Swift, I don't think she should be using her audience to, I mean, at the end of the day, she influences so many people.
Yeah.
so many people. She could say this, and all these little Taylor Swift fangirls who don't have the slightest clue about politics will just vote because Taylor Swift has said that she was going to vote for them. And I suppose you could say that with Elon Musk, and you could say it about Joe Rogan coming out and endorsing Donald Trump.
Of course.
I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I think that what needs to be taken into account is the audience that famous person is marketed towards. Like Taylor Swift, for example, there's a lot of young kids.
Yeah.
There's a lot of how old do you need to be to vote in America? 16.
Yeah.
There's a lot
to do it?
To vote.
Yeah.
16.
It's
18.
I think 18.
There's a lot of 18-year-old kids.
I don't even fucking know, and I'm from America.
There'd be a lot of 18-year-old kids that don't have a clue about politics watching Taylor Swift and would just vote because Taylor Swift voted. I think it's good in terms of it gets people to vote, but are they voting for the right reasons?
Yeah, and most of the time, probably not. Especially if you're listening to someone like that. Yeah. I mean, they had, I think it was like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B.
Yeah.
Show up and promote them. And
so, I mean, with Taylor Swift's audience, a lot of them, they wouldn't make their own mind up on a decision like that anyway, because they probably wouldn't vote if Taylor Swift never voted. Whereas somebody like Joe Rogan, everyone who watches is a fan of Joe Rogan. They can make their own mind up on who they want to be president. They don't need Joe Rogan to make it up for them. Now, there's still going to be that aspect of 18-year-old guy who's young, watches Joe Rogan and just votes for Trump because Joe Rogan voted for Trump or Joe Rogan's endorsed him.
But young men were way on the sort of Republican side anyways for this previous election. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But that's mainly because, so actually some of the stuff that we talked about at the beginning of this episode, all to do with sort of, not the discounting of, younger men, but there's a strong emphasis in America, especially by the Democrats, to focus on women. And there's a lot of problems with American and women and all that. Like, that's a fucking messy thing. And
I don't think we should get into
I'm
that.
not getting into that. But young men feel like they're just sort of cast to the side.
Yeah.
A little bit. They're not as important. Mm-hmm. At least that would be my sort of theory as to why they
the
think
Democratic Party.
That party isn't going to help them.
Yeah.
Therefore, Donald Trump, he speaks to the younger audience a little bit. I mean, obviously he's fucking way out of touch. I mean, how is a billionaire who's fucking 80 years old supposed to know what my life is like?
Yeah.
But are you looking at yourself?
No, I was looking.
Okay. But what I think they do gravitate towards is when he brings a guy like Elon Musk on.
Yeah.
Who's planning for the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, we have a very complicated system, but I think we're going to be good. I think we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, in my opinion, it's good for America. If I was able to vote, obviously I'm not.
I'll get you a fucking ballot next time.
Yeah, that would have been the way that I would want it to go as well. I think that for property as well and real estate, and for the younger generation trying to buy and get on the property ladder, it's good because I watched a video last week, I think, and it was somebody talking about when Trump was in power before, you needed on average to make about $75,000 in order to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
Now you need $125,000. You need to earn $125,000 to get a mortgage, roundabout.
Roughly, yeah. That's terrifying.
And with Trump back in power, that will come back down to $75,000. So I think it's good on that aspect.
Yeah.
I think that the tariff thing, that bringing the taxes down and upping the tariffs, I think it's great for not just for businesses,
but it's interesting.
And tax. It's
so
also,
when, the tariff thing. Sorry to interrupt, but like the tariff thing. When you listen to the left wing media versus the right wing media, they're like, right wing's like, this is the greatest idea, and then left wing's like, this is why we're fucked for the economic future. And when you really do some research, I've not studied tariffs in depth, but he did previously, I believe, do some tariff stuff.
Yeah, he did.
With China and stuff like that. It does work.
Well, I think that it
is effective.
There's bad points, but the good points definitely outweigh the bad points.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
the bad points is the chances are the products, because they're now being made in the US, will be more expensive.
Sure.
These companies who are now having to make the products in the US will have to charge more for the product, which is a shame. Yeah, it's terrible.
Sure.
Right, you have to pay more for whatever product you're buying. However, one, it brings the taxes down in the country for a start. It's great for businesses, small businesses.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when you say that we're bringing the taxes down, think about, these billionaires want their taxes reduced. No, it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about
By
all
the
the
way,
small
billionaires
businesses.
never pay taxes anyways. They're
The small businesses
Yeah.
brings their tax rate down.
Yeah.
That's one. Secondly, is we're going to bring so much more jobs into the economy,
Yeah.
the US economy,
Huge.
because all these companies who outsource or make all their
Yeah.
products in Mexico or China will now make them in the US,
Yeah.
creating more jobs in the US.
Yeah. Huge.
It's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. And I think it's great.
Yeah, I think we're hopefully going to be in a pretty good position in a couple years' time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, cryptocurrency is through the roof in the last week.
The stock market's through the roof. I mean, the stock
took
market
off.
went up 2.75 points.
It was like over $1 trillion in a day.
There was over
something.
$1.2 trillion
Yeah.
put into the stock market in the
That's
space of like
crazy.
2 days. It's pretty mad.
Yeah.
Elon Musk's net worth went up 17 billion when Trump got elected. And just purely
So what was it? The first it was like 28 billion or something.
It went up
a
27
month ago
billion.
or 2 months ago.
Well, it
and
went
now
up
it's-
27 billion in a day, not that
Right.
long ago, because Tesla stock rised by
Yeah.
22%. But
And then
now
also-
Tesla stock went up by like 12% or something, and his net worth went up by
Fucking hell.
17 billion.
That's
Unbelievable.
absolutely wild.
But I mean, it's good for the stock market. It's good
Yeah.
for investments. It's good for
Sure.
investors. It's good for real estate.
Yeah, we need a little bit more stability. That's what I would like to see, and it definitely has an impact on the UK relationship as well.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people over here don't like him.
I like him.
Most of the people that I deal with like him, and they. I mean,
Again, Trump's a guy that you either
he's polarizing.
you like or
He
you
just
hate.
yeah. There's no fucking in between. It's not like 50-50 about him. No, it's like you like him or you don't.
I think one of the good things about him is he speaks his mind. You
Mhm.
can trust him. I think we touched on it in the last episode. A lot of these politicians hide behind a facade, and what they say on camera is fake and it's scripted, and
Oh yeah,
he's none of that. He literally jumps on stage and he says whatever he thinks.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably his downside, is he needs to learn how to kind of reel it in a bit.
yeah.
Apart from that, I think his policies and I think the way that you run the country will be well. I mean, he made 70 phone calls to 70 different world
Yeah.
leaders the day he was elected.
Yeah.
I mean, his work ethic's through the roof.
It's interesting because people they always say he's not a good businessman.
He's worth
'cause he had
5 billion.
I mean,
3 billion
how
or
the
5
fuck are you
billion.
not good at business?
I mean, he has
Also,
gone
to the
bankrupt.
people who are making that claim, how much money do you have?
Yeah, he's gone bankrupt a couple of times. But
Because
I mean, it's
if
taking risks.
you're so intellectual about business and savvy, why don't you fucking run the country
Yeah.
with your fucking $20?
Mhm.
Fuckers. You can edit that out.
No, it's good.
I don't like them. I don't like those people.
No, but
And I also am not necessarily promoting like the divide. But
no, I mean, the thing is, the country has
as
to
soon
unite
as you
come
say
together.
something about, you say, hey, I'm this person. 50% of America hates you now.
Yeah.
And like that's the most unhealthy
But
dynamic.
I just don't think that
and
anyone.
that bothers me. Like if I just want to like somebody because I think that they're the right fit for my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not because like I want him to rule the world or whatever.
No,
they
I
might
don't think
say.
anyone should be judged on who they voted for.
It's just my opinion.
I saw a video of Dana White talking about it. He was like, now that this is over, it needs to be forgotten about. And there can't be that divide in the country. There can't be he said, she said, he voted for her, he voted for her,
Yeah.
she voted for him. It just doesn't work.
No.
Like,
No.
it is what it is.
Of course.
It will be what it will be. The country has to come back together and unite.
Yeah.
And I think that I think it will. I think it'll happen. It might
I think
just take
so.
time.
I think it'll just take a little bit of time, Yeah. I mean, I watch all the news outlets and some of them are fucking going nuts, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So yeah, so I think we're in good shape. I'm delighted.
Fantastic.
I think there was another thing that you asked me. No, maybe not. I think we touched on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That stash. I know. I just can't get used to it.
I
But
can't either. I think it looks horrible. And, I'd love for someone in the comments section to tell us what we look like?
No, I don't. I don't want to know, quite frankly. So yeah, you don't need to tell me.
All right.
Any last bits that you want to talk about before we wrap this one up? We've probably got like 10 minutes.
Right. No.
No. Great.
Oh, I actually do. My final thought will be this, and maybe we could just have a quick discussion about it.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful things that I've read and listened to recently was someone talking about a tactic or a skill that you need to learn, and Steve Jobs was amazing at it, and it was pausing. See that?
Yeah.
But yeah, the act of pausing. And it kind of ties into some of the things that we've talked about, like, always having a reply when you're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Always wanting to jump in. And pausing, the art of pausing, it's something that I'm avidly thinking about recently. I don't know if you've ever read anything or saw anything like that, but what do you think? Yeah. Taking just a second.
Yeah, of course.
Formulate your answer. Think about literally think before you speak. But the power that has in the world of business, I mean, Steve Jobs is an icon. Everybody in the world knows who that is.
It's so funny that you said this, because I just watched a video. It maybe was the same video or maybe you didn't watch a video, maybe you read something. But I saw a video yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
And it was like Steve Jobs paused 18 seconds before he answered this question. So he's on stage at a convention.
Okay.
And somebody shouted a question at him.
Yeah.
And he stood for 18 seconds.
Really?
Before he answered the question. Now,
wow.
Most people would feel so anxious and nervous in that scenario and just spout out the first ridiculous thing that came to their head.
100%.
In that instance, Steve Jobs stood for 18 seconds on a stage with about 2,000 people watching him. Didn't say a word until he knew exactly what he wanted to say and exactly how he wanted to say it.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm talking. Yeah.
And that's what a difference, because
oh man, even for the individual, it makes them think a little bit longer as well. Like it's a different dynamic and a different discussion.
How much you have studied like public speaking or language.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys that I follow on Instagram and TikTok, and it's all about speaking and how to speak properly, how to speak well. And rather than, for example, you ask me a question, me going, so Callum, I went somewhere on Saturday and golfed for a bit. And then, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with you.
No. So it's all about, rather than, it's fine pausing. You don't have to be speaking all the time.
Don't fill the air for no reason.
I could say, so Callum, I went golfing on Saturday and then went for a beer afterwards. I don't have to say, Callum, I went golfing on Saturday. You know what I mean? But it's so much more effective when you learn how to just pause.
Yep.
And not go, it's going to happen, and you're going to say it at some points. I still say it at points, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But I just did it right there.
Yeah.
But learning how to pause and speak, and pause and speak, rather than having to always be talking. You don't have to always fill the silence. You're allowed to stand and pause. You don't have to be speaking all the time.
No.
This is rich coming from me. One thing that I've observed watching these podcasts
is that you talk
is that
way too much.
To be honest, you've actually talked most of this episode.
Yeah, actually, I feel like I have. I was thinking about that halfway through. I'm like, I've said a lot more than usual, because usually I just let you go. Because I also like asking you the occasional question to get your thoughts on things.
Yeah.
But
I
like
did.
that.
You did most of the talking in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, about fucking time.
Sorry, bud.
That's fine. That's
But
fine.
yeah, so the pausing.
But
and I would say to anyone who, I mean, you don't have to want to go into public speaking to learn how to do this.
Because you need to learn it for
it's a
every
great
reason.
skill to have for
100%.
communication.
Yes.
For standard communication. I mean,
Yes.
that could be in general life, in business, in making friendships, in a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
It could be anything.
Well,
But
to touch on that real fast, I don't know if we've ever spoken about this stat. You've probably seen or read something about this. So a man speaks 5,000 words a day, and a woman speaks 15,000.
yes.
That's
I mean, I
crazy.
speak a lot more than the average man.
Is that a hint?
Damn.
Oh boy. Yeah. No. I mean, I definitely would suggest that you're probably closer to like the 15,000.
No,
mark.
I mean, no. To
10,000?
be
I'd say-
honest, to be totally honest with
Yeah.
you,
Outside of
I'm-
work, how often do you are you
I
on the
do-
phone to people all
no,
the time?
Never.
Okay.
So I was speaking to one of my best friends, Alan, today about this.
Mhm.
I was in the shop this morning and saw somebody that I know
Yeah.
and actually hid in the aisle because I didn't want to speak to them. Like,
Is it because you had the mustache?
no, I'm just like,
I would do that. I would right now.
I do it all the time. And I said to Alan, is this bad? Like, I can't be bothered with the social aspect of it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to put myself in the situation where I need to say, oh, how are you doing? And small talk. And he's like, no. Like, if you don't want to speak to somebody, you don't have to speak to them.
Yeah.
But, so, to answer your question, if I'm not on a podcast like just now when we're shooting an episode, or with you where we've got meaningful conversation that we're
Yeah.
actually talking about business, like our own business,
Yeah.
or when I'm at work, I'm obviously talking a lot at work because that's my
Oh, yeah.
job. I sell.
Yeah.
When I'm not within a work environment or podcast or kind of with you, no, I don't really talk.
No.
I don't talk. Even
Yeah.
if I'm like at home with my parents, I don't really talk. I remember when I was first going into sales, I'm like to my dad, like, I think that I could probably do sales.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've not really got the gift of the gab, do you? And I'm like, he's like, you need to have the gift of the gab. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? So anyway, that's how little I talk when I'm not at work.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
and-
you're very talkative. And I think you're also a pretty effective communicator, though.
Is that?
No, I mean that. No, I
Okay.
was being serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
was.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I probably talk a lot but depending on the environment that
Yeah.
I'm in.
I mean, I don't give a fuck how long you talk for.
Well, that's what we're here to do. You know, I was talking to somebody.
Really? Wait,
I was talking to one of my friends either last night. I
Yeah.
think it was last night, and he was asking me how the podcast's going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, like really good. It's great fun. And I said, you know, he's like an interesting guy, and I'm like, you would probably really enjoy to go on a podcast. Like, when else do you write down? Now we never actually wrote anything down for this episode, so this one's been a bit off the cuff, guys.
100%.
But when else do you write down topics of conversation and sit and discuss them for an hour? When have you ever done that in your life?
You never do it.
Like, it's so
Never.
bizarre, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. I love it.
I love it too. Like,
Yeah.
you write down a couple of different topics of
Yeah.
conversation and you sit and you actually speak about them for an hour.
Zone in.
If you're interested in different industries and different things in life, I suppose,
Yeah.
it's cool for somebody to do.
Of course.
Sit down and talk about
Of course.
things that you want to talk about,
Yeah.
because it's something that never happens. Normally, if you go and meet somebody for a coffee, one of your friends for a coffee,
Yeah.
you sit down and you speak, but you've not got topics of conversation that you're going to.
Well,
run
the other
through and
thing
talk
for me, the most important thing for me is I also want to find the person I'm speaking to. I won't speak to somebody if I don't find them interesting.
Thanks.
So that's actually a fucking
Compliment.
compliment, really. But and I'm sure you're the same. But if someone's
Yeah,
not
of course.
interesting, I will happily avoid you in the supermarket or whatever the fuck you were doing. But that's not a problem for me.
It's more the small talk from you. Like
I hate small talk.
So I've not.
Like, just get into something.
Yeah, I've not been like out on a night out.
Yeah.
Now I used to go, like last year, I probably went out like twice a week, at least once a week,
Okay.
to the pub. for the past, I've not drank now for like, I've not been out for like 11 weeks.
Yeah.
And I actually I got dropped, well, I was nearly got dropped off outside the pub one night.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting in the car, one of my friends was dropping me off, and I'm looking into the window of the pub. And there was so many people in there, and I'm like, I'm going to have to speak to people that I know. And I just said, take me home.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I just couldn't be bothered with it.
I get that.
And I don't know what it is now. I used to love going in the pub and speaking. Now I just don't have the energy for it.
Well, that's the thing is it's very, I mean, it consumes a ton of your energy and time. I mean, you go to the pub, it's for one, and then you're fucking 4 deep and you're talking a bunch of shit. That's not important.
The thing is, it's fine. It's fine once you're drunk.
But
It's
that beginning period.
It's the first 3 pints, 3-4 pints.
It's so horrible. Because because then you're struggling for conversation. Anyways, we should probably end this episode, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're fucking milking
Yeah.
it.
So let's leave on a thought.
Okay.
Let's leave on a thought.
Yeah.
Here's a thought for you. Never judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes.
Wow. You pulled that one.
I just thought of that right there.
I like that. That was smart. Okay. I like that.
What's your thoughts?
I think that is something that should not be overlooked.
I think that it totally ties in with what we've talked about earlier with Movember and men's mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health in general.
Yeah.
Is that you should never judge anyone until you've walked up. You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
Right. You never know what someone's going through. If I walk past somebody in the street, you don't know what kind of shit they're going through. You don't know if their mom or dad has just died. You don't know if they've got issues or financial problems. Like, be nice.
Yeah.
Don't judge anyone.
It costs $0 to be nice and kind.
Talking like elaborating on that. Actually, let's save it to the next episode. Watch the next episode.
Oh wait, we both did this.
No.
Wait, we should do it the middle one.
Great minds think alike. That was a bit cringe.
Oh god.
Callum, again, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Andy.
We promise the
This
next
is great.
episode will be a bit more structured, and
Yes.
I will say what I was just about to say on the next episode.
Stay tuned.
See you later, guys.